TruthSeekah and/or its affiliates are not responsible for any strange phenomena that may occur during or after listening to this podcast, which may include the following: heightened senses of awareness, psychic abilities, UFO sightings, alien contact, time loss, out-of-body experiences, ringing in the ears, ESP, lucid dreaming, increased synchronicities, astral projection, telepathy, stronger intuition, levitation, miraculous healings, and/or remote viewing. Please be advised to listen at your own discretion.
Won't you come and take me away? I just wanna be with you. Won't you come and take me away? To a place to walk on troubled seas, faith to stand when I don't believe. I just wanna be with you. Won't you come and take me away? I just wanna be with you. Won't you come?
You are now locked into the TruthSeekah podcast.
Gargoyles! Psychics! Everything's ungodly! Dark savage!
Streaming live at TruthSeekah.com.
She's not a Christian!
Give it up, y'all.
Your portal to the paranormal, esoteric, and all things spiritual.
She's tampering in dark-sided stuff!
And now, your host, TruthSeekah.
Hey, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? We are live with the TruthSeekah podcast. I'm excited, delighted to be with you guys, as always, man. We got a beautiful show planned for you. Phone lines are open. This is something new that we started doing here within the last week or so. Call-in number is 609-663-5577. That number should be in the messages or in the description wherever you are. So about the second half of the show, we'll open up the phone lines for you guys to call in, ask questions, comments, stories, all that good stuff. So make sure you take advantage of that. Want to say a huge shout out to everybody listening live. This is amazing that we go live and people jump into the chat room and say hello. So let us know where you're listening from. Let us know that you're there. Let me see your name so I can give you a shout out and all that good stuff. Want to say a huge shout out and a big thank you also to everybody supporting my work and supporting this show via Patreon. This is a listener-funded, listener-supported show. Doesn't exist without your help, so thank you from the bottom of my heart for partnering with me in this way. Shout out to some of the latest patrons within the last week or so. Shout out to Mike Hall. Thank you, Mike, for coming on. Shout out to Classic Cosmopolitan. Thank you for coming on, my friend. And yeah, those two people within the last week, thanks for coming on. If you'd like to support, you'd like to join, go to patreon.com/TruthSeekah. There you get access to behind the scenes episodes, my entire discography of music, which is 200 plus songs. Working on a new album right now. It's nearing completion. Once it's done, you will have, if you're a patron, when the artwork is wrapped up, your name will be in the artwork forever embedded within that album. So when you open it up and see the thank yous, your name will be in the thank you section. So by any level of giving, any level of support, you get your name in the album. So that's something cool that you can look forward to. Also, all the songs that I'm releasing, as soon as they're done, they are available on Patreon. So there's stuff that's been released for over a year that's been on Patreon that's just private to those guys before it's released to the general public. So a bunch of really cool stuff. You get access to the Thursday night School of the Mystics and a bunch of really cool stuff. Go check it out. Patreon.com/TruthSeekah. Also, on a deeper level, what we have going on is the Mystic Circle, which is not only myself, but a bunch of my friends who have amazing content that they're bringing to the table as well. So we've been doing monthly webinars. We're going to be doing our third one this month, featuring Miss Corinne Grillo, which is an amazing friend of mine who works with angels, and she's going to be doing a webinar on how to work with your angels and get results. And she's been featured on Coast to Coast AM, Gaia TV, and all that good stuff. And she's an amazing person who also has a book on this 21-day journey on working with your angels. So make sure you guys tap into that. You also get access there to the past webinars that we did with Miss D. Wallace, which is the mom from E.T., the Jill Matson webinar, working with angels and sigils and all that good stuff. Listen, these people that we've had on are powerhouses, and so the Mystic Circle allows me to bring other people in and feature their work, and we have nightly stuff and documentaries and all kinds of private stuff over there. Check it out at themysticcircle.net. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump into today's discussion. My friend joining us today is Miss Deb Peretz. Deb, how are you? Peretz, did I say it right?
Yes. That's,
awesome.
Sounds
good to have you, my friend. And
thank you.
I think the stars have aligned and the moon is in such a beautiful position for us to be having this show. We've been doing some moon gazing and stargazing the last couple of days, so I'm excited to get into this talk with you and explore your journey and your expertise.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm delighted to be here. I always love talking about such important topics that can really help improve our lives.
Awesome. So we'll start out for people who don't know who you are, just kind of giving you a little bit of giving them a little bit of background about who you are, what you bring to the table. We'll start there.
Okay. I call myself a karmic success coach because what I do is I help people align with their karmic path. And that, in a nutshell, is what we're here to do. That's why we incarnate in a body, right? Our soul determines the lessons that we want to focus on. And we come in and we have one goal in this life, and that is to learn those lessons and evolve as a soul. So I help people do that. And I use a variety of techniques, but my secret sauce is evolutionary astrology. And that's the foundation. The birth chart from the evolutionary astrology perspective is a curriculum for your life, right? This is the curriculum you are here to learn. So I help people do that, and I use coaching techniques. I'm a Martha Beck life coach, and I have a background in education, so especially adult learning, which means I have expertise in cognitive psychology, developmental psychology, positive psychology, and my favorite is applied neuroscience. We've learned so much about how the brain works the past few decades. And, it's very interesting how a lot of it aligns with what we've been told about our true natures, right? Beyond just the 5 physical senses that we can see. So I use techniques from all of those fields to help my clients achieve their karmic success.
That's awesome. So you're applying this in business. How does that work? You're saying astrology is the new business coach. How does that work with astrology in our businesses?
So what it all started because I was doing life coaching, and I found that most of my clients were also entrepreneurs, and they wanted help not just getting their lives in order, but a big part of their life was their business. So we started looking at that, and the truth is, that's just as much a part of our life's curriculum as anything else. How many hours, what percentage of our lifetimes are spent at work? So it really just fit nicely. And as I was doing this work and I was formalizing my approach, looking to see, okay, how can we use astrology to really help business owners achieve their business goals as well as their karmic goals? And at the end of the day, that's actually what it is. You may have known people who have a business that is supremely successful monetarily and they're miserable, right? Or you may have people who really, their business isn't making that much, but it's exactly what they want and it's perfect.
Yep.
So astrology will help you figure out, well, what's the right business for you? They're the ones who go into the family business because it was expected of them, but it's not part of their path.
Mm-hmm.
There's the ones who thought they always wanted to be one career, but they discover it's another. So in that sense, I use the birth chart and evolutionary astrology to help them grow the right business that will bring them joy. Because when your business is aligned with your karmic purpose, that's where you find success in all the different ways we define it.
Do most people that you work with kind of know this deep down, or do you help people find this?
I would say it's split. Some people come to me, they've already done some work. They've either seen astrologers, they've been to psychics, they've done their own human design, they've done work. But I would have to say that most people come to me with an open curiosity. Like something inside them knows this is right, so they find me somehow. But one of the things they say is, what you do sounds really important, but I'm not really sure what it is and how it works. And that's why I started my podcast, Planets and Profit. It was a way to show people what business astrology looks like in action.
That's awesome. And so I guess so is your life and your business a reflection of what you do? Like did you is this how you stepped into your purpose as well?
Yes, you may know that often we learn things the hard way, and then we like to take what we learned and use it to help other people
Exactly.
avoid the mistakes we
Yep.
made. So absolutely. So if you think about it, the karmic journey has two parts to it. One is the karmic baggage that we bring with us into this world, and that contrary to popular belief, it's not so much if you stole in a past life, someone's going to steal from you in this life. It's actually more like bad habits, right? So if you had past lives of being betrayed by someone very close to you, you're going to bring that sense of, oh, I can't trust people close to me into this life. So it becomes habit, predisposition. And at the other end of it is our evolutionary intent, what we're here to learn. And that always involves getting out of your comfort zone, right? So we default to our karmic past, our stuckness, and that's what keeps us stuck. And we really have to find courage to embrace the evolutionary intent. What does that have to do with the question you just asked? Well, I spent most of my life in a career in education, and I loved it. I love teaching. I love the people I meet or met. And one of my dreams when I was a child was to be a college professor. So when I got my dream job, I'm like, I'm living the dream. This is awesome. And the universe sent me signs saying, this isn't really what you're supposed to be doing. And I ignored them because this is my dream job, right? And it wasn't until the universe had to, the universe will send you gentle signs first, right? And you can listen and go, or you can ignore them. And then they send stronger signs, right? Until at the very end, it just has to, like whop you on the side of the head. And it's like, you are on the wrong path. Get over, move lanes. So that's kind of what happened to me. And basically I went up for tenure and I didn't get it. And so I was at this point where I had to decide, okay, I can just go and start over at another college. Or I realized that I started, becoming aware of all the signs that I had been ignoring. And it's like, okay, the universe is giving me an opportunity here to realign. And the truth is, it's right there in my birth chart. My karmic past is all about teaching within established structures. So, and that's what I was doing. I was first a school teacher, then I was a college professor. That was my path. And it was also my strength. I'd spent lifetimes doing this. So it was very easy for me. But in my birth chart, you could see that what I was here to do had to do with teaching about spiritual soul lessons and issues and that sort of thing, not in these established, even conservative structures. Mm-hmm. So I learned the hard way. I've never been happier since I left higher ed, right? Starting my own business at, I'm not young, past middle age, and starting a business from scratch is really scary. And it really is outside the comfort zone, but it was my path. And once I aligned with it, I was amazed that I ignored those signs for so long. So I would like to help others, and that's what I do. I help others look at their birth chart with an objective eye and ask the hard questions. Are you in the business or profession or career because it's easy, because it's familiar, it's your karmic past? Or are you embracing your evolutionary intent, getting out of your comfort zone and learning what you're here to do?
Wow. That's so awesome. Now, how long does it take you to read somebody's chart? Is this something that would take hours, or is this something that you can kind of glance over really quick and know what you're looking at?
Well, that's a function both of the experience of the astrologer, but also the approach and style. So it takes me a fairly long time. Like, I know some astrologers who've been doing this for 40 years. They can just look at the chart and then start talking for 2 hours, right? But what I do, I'm also a psychic medium, and I channel. I'm very closely connected to my guides and sensitive to energy. So the truth is that when I start working with the birth chart, doing my analysis, I'll do that in advance of the reading, and I connect to my guides, who are then connected to the client's guides, and use whatever language that you want, the client's higher self, and I get the downloads. So it does take me a long time to do it. I am working on getting that time down a bit, and it's getting better.
Yeah.
But because of the way I do it, I'm never going to be one of those people who will pick up a chart and then do your reading for 2 hours. Although, having said that, when I have a conversation with someone, even when it's not a client and it's not about a reading, I can't help but getting these downloads that use astrology as a language, right? So someone will be talking, it's like, oh yeah, I definitely hear some Capricorn moon energy there, or oh my God, this has got to be, a Leo rising. So it does, energy speaks to me using the language of astrology. And previous to that, it was using the language of tarot. Sometimes I'll get it via tarot language.
Now, with that being said, and just with the conversation and just meeting somebody, whether it's their aura or just kind of knowing people types, as you kind of learn, I guess, are you able to guess people's birth sign and astrological sign? Is that something that happens? Like, oh yeah, you're definitely this.
Yeah. So yes and no. So many people who aren't familiar with astrology, they're familiar with the sun sign, right? And they're pretty much just focused on that. The sun is, arguably the most important planet in your birth chart. Although I equate it, I think it's just as important as the moon and the ascendant. But there are 10 planets in your chart, plus the nodes of the moon, plus the angles. There's so much information in the chart. So just guessing someone's sun sign, that's just a parlor trick. It's meaningless. What I get is the energy. So it's like, oh yeah, all right, I feel a lot of Taurus energy coming from you. I can't tell you if that's your sun sign or your rising sign, or maybe it's your Mercury. It won't be that specific, and it doesn't have to be. But I will say, oh, you know what? I'll bet that you've got, this really sounds like you've got Scorpio on the midheaven. And I'll get that kind of info. So in my podcast, what I do is I interview entrepreneurs about their journey. And I purposely don't look at their chart before the podcast, because I like to play this game with myself. As I'm interviewing them, I'll take notes about what's coming to me. And then afterwards, I'll look at their charts to see. And I have to say, all right, I'll toot my own horn, but I am usually right.
Wow.
Again, I won't say, oh, it's your sun sign, but I will say, yeah, there's a lot of Taurus energy around this, and it'll be there.
It's awesome. So speaking of the moon and the planets, what's going on with the moon right now? April 29th, we got a beautiful full moon, but is there something special about this moon right now?
Well, I would like to say every moon's kind of special, but we had the full moon on Monday night, and that was lovely. But what you really want to ask about is the full moon next month, May 26th. We're having a lunar eclipse. Now, the moon is centrally important. In fact, I'm just starting a membership community around coaching with the moon. But eclipses are turbocharged, super powerful moons as far as how it impacts our life. So, for example, a typical full moon like the one we had on Monday, that really the energy is for a couple of days around that full moon. But with an eclipse, the energy could influence us for 6 weeks. And it usually signifies an important development in one of our life stories. So I do a lot with the work of an astrologer named Dietrich Pessin. She developed, she studied the phases of the moon, and she discovered these 2.5 year lunar phase cycles that are amazingly aligned with themes in our life that come and go over 2.5 years. So we can use the moon phases to help leverage those themes and take conscious, not control, but with conscious intention, guide the development of these different themes in our lives. And that's pretty powerful. So I would say every key moon phase, I usually limit it to the 4 main phases, can really help us navigate our life and growth.
Awesome. That's awesome. So again, using astrology to find out your soul's purpose, align with it, and what you're supposed to be doing. That's one thing that you do. And another thing is like once you get into that, right? So that's a huge thing, like finding out what it is, getting into it, and a lot of us do that. Like I did that. It was very hard. A lot of alchemy, a lot of saying yes and keep saying yes, and a lot of that kind of stuff. And then, but once you get there, sometimes it's like, okay, now what? I'm here, and these were my goals were to just get me here. And not, like now that this is established, how do we scale? Like how do we use astrology to take the next moves, and create more goals for ourselves? Are we able to use astrology to do that?
Absolutely. And great question. So that's why I hesitate to say, hi, I'm Deb Peretz. I'm an astrologer. It's like I keep saying I'm an astrologer coach, because how many times have you gone to an astrologer or a psychic or medium and had an amazing reading, right? And you leave there and your head is spinning with ideas, insights, and potential and exciting. And then you go home, start doing errands, and, make dinner and do whatever you have to do. And before you know it, 6 months has gone by, and it's like, yeah, I did nothing.
Yeah.
It was great. It was cool, but I did nothing. So that's why it's really important, the coaching piece. So like I said, the birth chart is your lifetime curriculum, but you're not going to learn an entire lifetime's curriculum in 1 year, right? So you start with understanding your lifetime curriculum, but then you want to look at what's going on in the current sky. I call it my astro update reading. So for what's going on right now in the sky, and you take a look at that and how it impacts your birth chart, that's where you get your current curriculum. So let's say the birth chart, the moment, the stars, the planets at the moment of birth, that's what you're here to learn over a lifetime. So that's kindergarten through 12th grade, let's say. And then if you look at the transits and progressions for a given year, 2021, how are the planets in 2021 impacting your birth chart? You get your karmic lessons for this year. So each year, and I'm just using year as an arbitrary time period, right? But each moment, we have different lessons being highlighted by the universe, and astrology gives us insight into them, so you know what to work on when. And that's key. For example, you may have a lot of relationship karma, but it's really not going to be it's not going to be the right time for you to do the most work on it at different periods, depending on the periods of your life. Well, all of a sudden you're going to see, okay, this year relationships are going to be a key area of growth for you. Let's do coaching around that. This year I see there's a lot of energy going around with your progressed sun, is the evolution of your identity, your sense of self. Who are you and what do you want? If you see that's under a lot of pressure this coming year, then that's where the coaching activities will focus. Whereas for another person, it might be, progress Mars is being really active. So where do you need to find courage to develop assertiveness, to take a stand for what's right for you? So so that's how it's the interaction between your birth chart, which is the moment of birth, your life curriculum, with what's happening right now in the sky.
Awesome. So can you talk a little bit, I know you've mentioned it here and there, with the type of mode that you use, the modality or the type of astrology that you use, because there's a lot out there and it gets really overwhelming, right? When we start hearing like if we're just going off the sun signs, yeah, that's something I can understand. That's pretty easy. It's like, well, it's not just that, it's that and this and this. And then we've had other astrologers on here and it can get pretty complicated really quick. Can you talk just a little bit about the modes that you use?
Yes, absolutely. It's you can get astrologers also, ask a question, get them arguing and, and
Exactly.
fighting tooth and nail,
Yeah.
over the perspective. There are a lot of different branches. I practice a type of astrology called evolutionary astrology. And there are many people who helped kind of develop what we call evolutionary astrology. I'm mostly aligned with Stephen Forrest. And to some extent, Jeffrey Wolf Green they're like the granddaddies of evolutionary astrology. And it's quite different from traditional astrology in many ways. The most important way is that in traditional astrology, you'll hear things like, oh, your this planet is in its fall or in its detriment, right? And these words that sound like, oh, I've got a planet in a bad place, right? There is no bad placement for a planet for you. You have the exact planet placements that you need to navigate this life. So there is no good or bad. You'll hear like a lot of popular things like, oh, right, if you're if you're a Libra, you don't want to marry an Aries. You guys won't get along, right? Don't date something like this. Or which signs should you date depending on your signs? That's forget it. Oh no, that relationship's doomed because you're a this and you're a that. That's just not true. Astrology isn't prescriptive. It doesn't tell you what you should do. What it does is describes the circumstances, the energies, the potentials, and the possible pitfalls so that you can use your free will accordingly. It's about free will. And, you can make, take two planets or two energies that don't get along well. Well, when you know in what areas and how they don't get along well and where they're likely to trip up, you can then take action to make it work. So that's the key thing. And the other key difference, besides the whole free will versus, doom and gloom, would be the issue of the past lives. The whole point of evolutionary astrology is this idea that you've got this karmic baggage you're here to release. You've got your evolutionary intent that you're here to embrace. And that's really what it's all about. It's that movement. It's that growth.
That's awesome. Growth, moving from one level to the next, transmuting your situation, looking at what the stars are in front of you and bringing yourself into alignment with that, right? So that you're able to harness the energy or to flow with the energy. Does that wording sound
it's
right?
both. It's to harness that. You want to harness an energy and flow with the things towards your evolutionary intent, but you want to break the pattern and let go of the stuff that's keeping you stuck. So by knowing that, oh, okay, you've got past life karma around relationships with mother figures, then you know that doing some work on your relationship with your current mother will help you release that karma so that you can then, so that's no longer something you bring in with you.
Yeah, that's
or learning trust.
So with the energies and stars, planets changing every day, is this something that we look at on a daily basis, a daily pattern, or is it monthly or yearly? Like you said, I know there's bigger themes, but does it all for the macro? But does it all come down to the micro and things and how I'm going to feel today, how I'm going to feel tomorrow, and those things? Because I had a weird day just the other day. I was uninspired, uneventful. I knew I needed to create because that's what I do, but I almost felt like giving up. I didn't care about it. I didn't know what it was. And then I got on a certain website and looked up my astrological forecast, and it said, yeah, today's going to be uneventful. Don't try to create anything. Today is about resting. You need to rest today, Capricorn. And so I was like, wow. And it brought a tear to my eye to be able to read that. It's like, wow, if I would have known that going into the day, I wouldn't have been a victim of the energies. And I feel like so many people are a victim because they don't know what the energies are, and we can't plan our day off of it unless we know it. So does this come down to something we can do daily?
I have mixed feelings about answering this question because the truth is, yes, let's take the moon. That's the fastest moving body up there, right? It changes signs every 2.5 days or so. Um, and the moon represents our feelings and emotions. So if you think about it, our moods shift pretty quickly as well. So I'm not going to say that the quick moving events, which I call transits, don't affect you on a daily basis. However, I don't recommend living your life that way because you risk falling into the trap of letting the planets, letting astrology prescribe what you do and how you do it. Oh, well, today, today is going to be a low energy, a lot of discord with communication. I'm just not going to bother then I'll just cancel this amazing interview with someone who can really help you in your business, right? So I don't like letting the stars choose for you. And that's what happens when people look at those daily forecasts. On the other hand, there are big events there are some even smaller events that are worth knowing. So for example, Eris is an asteroid named after the goddess of discord, right? And right now she's being triggered off and on by some transits to Pluto. So you may have noticed these last 2 weeks of April have been kind of tough for many people. And that's because Eris is being triggered up there in the sky. And depending on your birth chart, it's probably affecting us in different ways. I certainly felt it as well. And in May, there's also a Saturn-Uranus square that's pretty dominant this year. And it gets triggered on certain days. Like in May, we're going to have a few days here and there, off and on, where that's going to get triggered. And we'll probably feel it. So like you said, if you know that there are going to be some times of discordant feelings, or for example, Pluto just stationed retrograde yesterday, the day before, and karmic wounds can get triggered, repressed wounds, emotional wounds can get triggered during those times. So if you kind of know and you use that to bolster your energy, your courage, and to give you strength, that's fine. But if you use that to cancel things and not do things, or to do things differently, then I'm not sure it's doing you a service. The last thing I would add is, when working with my clients, there is so much data you can pull from a chart in a reading. I mean, literally, there's no end to it. So one of the astrologer's first jobs is to decide where the cutoff point is. Well, the work I do is big picture soul development work. So I cut it off fairly at the top, and I don't even look at some of the less influential transits because there's so much work to be done on the biggest events. So
awesome.
It's kind of a long-winded, complicated answer to your question, but did that answer
Great.
it?
All right. I want to let everybody know we're going to go ahead and open up the phone lines. If anybody has any questions for today's guest, go ahead and call in. Again, the number is 609-663-5577. And so if you guys want to call in, go ahead and do that. Make sure that you listen on the phone line and not on YouTube as we're conversing when you call in. So that's open for now for anybody who wants to call in. I guess my next question, to kind of change subjects a little bit again, but you're a life coach and you've learned a lot of brain hacks to help people with productivity and different ways to stay cognitive and those kind of things. What are some of the amazing brain hacks that we are just like a must know, like some of the best ones?
Probably the most important one, certainly coming back from being a teacher, when we are in a state of anxiety and fear, our brains do not function as they are supposed to. We have this, there's this thing called the amygdala in your brain, and it's kind of like a traffic cop, and it routes energy, your brain energy, to different areas. I'm trying to simplify this and not get technical. So when you're in a state of anxiety or fear, which unfortunately too many of us are, it hijacks your brain function and sends it to the survival brain, right? And it doesn't get to the prefrontal cortex, which is our thinking, judgment, decision-making brain. So literally, you can't think as well when you are completely in fear mode. So therefore, things that will help you break that and learning to not live in fear will help you use your brain better. And by the same token, people who think that they can scare people into doing things are just plain wrong. It's true. Some people are motivated by, some stress is good. A lot of people think, oh, we need no stress, no stress.
Yeah.
No, some stress in life is good. It can motivate you. That competitive urge or sometimes the healthy anger, which kind of gets you mad enough to get going and do something. That's okay. I'm talking about the survival, the fear mode that for many of us is just trigger happy.
So you think we have to, I say trick the brain, but hack the brain maybe to overcome whatever that fear is and to move into this state where there's excitement, there's love, even turn fear into excitement, like, right? Because there's a fear that's going to say no, but there's also because fear is healthy in some degree, right? But we don't want it to hold us back, like the ego. Like if you're going to go bungee jumping, there's a fear, but there's a healthy fear, but there's a safe fear, and we transmute that fear into excitement. Is that something that we can do?
Yes. In fact, that's something that I talk about a lot in my coaching is the dirty fear and healthy fear, right? So embracing your evolutionary intent always involves getting outside your comfort zone. So for me, I've had a fear of visibility, being on camera, doing a podcast, putting myself out there on social media. It was just, if you look at my chart, you can see that's just not something I'm comfortable with. And it's something I avoided. But when I got to know my chart better and I saw that, embracing this visibility, even though it's scary, it is part of my journey to what I'm supposed to accomplish. Knowing that gave me the courage to overcome the fear. And look at me, I'm now on video and on a podcast. That's something I probably couldn't do several years ago. Let's be honest. It's something I barely could do a year ago. But for another person where that visibility isn't a part of their karmic journey, well, dealing with that fear isn't going to help them. It's just going to make them more stressed out and more miserable. So it's kind of like, yes, some fear, like some stress is motivating and healthy, but too much isn't, and also the wrong fear and stress. And it's going to be different for different people. What scares you and what you should feel the fear and do anyway will be different from what scares me and I should feel the fear and do it anyway.
Awesome. That's good.
Can I give you one other brain hack?
Yeah. Let's go.
So I used to prepare teachers, and teachers have to, in most states, probably all states, have to pass these exams in order to get their license. And these exams are ridiculous because they have very little to do with the actual work of teaching. They're like these fill in the bubble, right? Multiple choice things. So it's really challenging and difficult and stressful. And so many of my students would have test anxiety, right? And they wouldn't be able to pass the exams because of this test anxiety. And these were students that I knew were going to be awesome teachers because I knew them well after 4 years. So there was a study done by these neuroscientists, and they had a group of students journal about their fears before a test, like 10 minutes before. Just take out a piece of paper, journal everything, just write down everything they were afraid of, all the feelings going on in their head, fold it up, stick it in their bag, and then go take the exam. And they found that they succeeded on the exam there. The results were statistically significant. So I suggested that to my students, and it was amazing because this was not a controlled experiment or anything, but all of a sudden these students were passing the exams and doing so much better. And the idea was that this brain dump or fear dump kind of freed up their working memory to focus on the task at hand. Whereas before, when they were taking the exam, the fears were occupying much of their working memory, and so they didn't have enough to just work on the exam.
That's so good.
So next time you have something that scares you, journal about it.
Balancing everything, you gotta you can only balance so many energies at once, and one's going to be dominant. You got to make sure like the good ones are dominant, not the scary ones, not the bad ones that's telling you no, stay back. Like, yeah, you're right, I'm gonna stay back. Versus,
And people live their entire lives in that smog of fear.
Yeah, for sure. We do have a caller here from Springdale, Arizona, from the 479 area code. Caller, you're live. Who we speaking with? Springdale, Arizona. Can you hear us? Can't hear you if you're speaking. Make sure I got all my stuff working right. Caller from Springdale, Arizona. You there? Do not see you there. If you're there and you want to call in, hang up and try to call back. It looks like you're trying to talk though. That's the interesting thing. Trying to get this. Okay. I guess hang up and try to call back in. So we'll jump back into it here in a moment. So working with the energies, transmuting fear, like. What are some other tips to do that? Like, because let me be honest. Let me just give you a scenario. I love food, love to eat, and so we just got back off of a fast. It was a 5-day fast. I did 3 days of it, and I feel amazing. My fear is coming back home, like you said, errands, work, and all those kind of things. Like jumping back into it. I'm scared. Like even drinking a sip of coffee, I'm like, because I know that I love coffee. I'll drink 3 cups. It's like I know there's a healthy balance and all that kind of stuff, but there's a fear that I'm going to easily fall back into gorging myself on delicate foods. It's just what I do. How do I transmute that, and just, is it, every decision needs to be a healthy decision, and to maintain the way that I'm feeling right now?
And I'm thinking, I want to see your chart and see where Virgo is. I've
got my birth certificate right here. If you,
oh yeah,
I got the time.
Well, maybe after online after, because
Okay.
I'd have to create the chart, and I think that would take more time than we have. But so yeah, thinking about every decision, I think that way madness lies. But if you were my client, the first thing I would do is look at your chart and find out, why do you have this compulsion for food, right? What's the source? What's the root of it?
Yeah.
Is it, and I will see it in the chart somewhere, right? And then work on it that way. So for many people, eating is an emotional thing. They do it because it provides pleasure. So if you feel like your life is lacking in pleasure, you eat for pleasure. Maybe it's a way of reducing stress. So depending on what the source of your eating is, overeating rather, because obviously eating is okay, would be to identify, why are you doing it? One example for me is when, sitting in front of the computer all day long working, for me, eating is a legitimate break from work, right? I think a lot of workaholics have this kind of thing. So sometimes if I just feel like I need a break, my brain will translate it as, oh, I need to eat. It's like, no, I don't need to eat. I just need a break. So you have to find out why it is that you're doing what you're doing, and then find another way. Yeah. Awesome.
And so for me, it's definitely the pleasure part of it.
So identifying other things that will give you that feeling of pleasure, but don't have negative effects.
Awesome. So, let's see here. Give me 1 second. I know what's wrong with the phone lines, and whoever's on the phone, if you can hear me, give me 1 second, literally. Okay, we're back. All right, caller, can you hear us now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Truth, this is Hunter. How you doing?
Great, Hunter Fuse, brother. What's up, man? Sorry about that. That was on my end, but man, welcome to the show, brother. Do you have a question?
Kind Kind of, sort of. I mean, I've been listening since you started, but I can't say I still understand it 100% because astrology was just one of those things I just had a really hard time trying to understand because it's always kind of hit and miss. Me personally, I'm a Sagittarius. And so there's a lot of stuff where it's like I see it, it's like, yeah, it kind of makes sense. But then there's other stuff where it's like, that doesn't make any sense at all. So trying to think of a question.
Yeah, so
you just asked a question.
Yeah.
I heard a question.
Become a believer, kind of thing.
Well, no, the question I heard was, why is it that even though I'm a Sagittarius, it doesn't suit me in all ways? And that's because you're only looking at one piece of an incredibly complex puzzle. If astrology were that easy, everyone could do it. But when an astrologer looks at your chart, we're not just looking at the sun sign. We're looking at the signs and house placements of 10 planets. All right, I'm calling the sun and the moon planets, even though they're not. We're looking at the sign and placement of the nodes of the moon, and we're looking at the signs of the angles, and we're looking at the interactions among all of those different things. So when I look at a chart, I could explain to you which aspects of Sagittarius sun most likely fit you and where it most likely doesn't fit you. Does that make sense? You're only looking at you're looking at the tusk of the elephant. You're a blind person, look at the tusk of the elephant, wondering why this is not a big animal. Why do people say it's a big animal with big leaves, big ears?
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense because like when you look at the description of what a usual Sagittarius says, it's like, yeah, it fits me. But then it's like, and this is kind of why I kind of gave up on horoscopes, is because there were some days where horoscopes were like, yeah, that's okay. And like I said earlier, there were other days where it's like, no, that doesn't seem right at all. So yeah, that does make a lot more sense. Like, but of course, the whole sun moon thing is completely new to me. So that's a new one on me that I'm still trying to understand. So.
Yeah, I don't want to make other astrologers angry, but those horoscopes in the newspapers are, to me, fairly meaningless. I don't mean to go out on a limb, but again, the astrology that I do is focused on the karmic journey and the evolution of the soul. So those little blips, one little blip in the paper can't fit everyone because everyone's chart is unique. In fact, I've done readings for identical twins. And, and so how can twins sometimes, or fraternal twins, let's say, how can they be so different, have the same chart? Yeah, of course they can. There's so much information in a chart.
And what is that with twins that would make them different or the same? I've found a recent documentary on YouTube where the government did an experiment on triplets and separated them at birth to see if it literally was nature, which is the heavens and their birth signs and all of that, or nurture. And there were so many similarities with these three brothers that it was uncanny, from the type of women they were into, the brand of cigarettes that they smoked, personality types, the way that they looked. They separated these guys at birth and they accidentally found each other later in life. It was very interesting. So what would it be that would either join or separate the two? Again, just one degree off in the time of birth, because a lot of people say they have to have your time that you were born as well. Is that something that would bring into that equation?
Well, a few seconds or, isn't going to make that big a difference. A few minutes arguably will make a difference, but no, that's not really what it is. With twins, first, there's a couple things. They have the same chart. There are going to be a lot of similarities, and there are, right? But they also have individual souls with their own individual karmic journeys, their evolutionary intent. So if you think about the 12 signs of the zodiac, that's taken the entire totality of human experience and dividing it up into 12 buckets. So each bucket is kind of big. So for example, think about, I'll talk about the houses for a minute. The houses in a birth chart divide the birth chart up into a pie of 12 slices, right? First house through the 12th house. And each house represents different arenas of human experience. So the 5th house, for example, covers creative self-expression, romance, it's the house of children, it's the house of play and rejuvenation. Well, that's a bunch of different things, right? But let's say that there's a lot of action in that house in your birth chart. So you get these twin siblings. They both have, say, 4 planets in the 5th house. So you know that that arena of life is going to be hugely influential to them. But how how that plays out can be different. For one, the focus may be on children, right? Their children, it's the house of children. For another, it may be all about their creative self-expression. They're artists. So just keep in mind that there's 12 signs, 12 houses, 10 plus planets, because we'll use asteroids. There's still a lot of room for variation and variety. But at the end of the day, yes, 2 people born at the same time are going to have a lot in common regardless.
Yeah, that's interesting. So you can have a lot of similarities, but there are also things that are going to be different as well.
Depending on the soul's lessons and what you kind of decided with your guides before birth.
So good, so good. Well, Deb, thanks for coming on, hanging out with me. I've enjoyed this talk and so much fun learning about this and what you bring to the table and how we can use astrology for business. It's awesome, taking those steps forward. And so you have a lot that you bring to the table. You have different sessions that you do, and then you do one-on-ones and all that good stuff. Let people know where they can get in touch with you, follow your work and your website and all that good stuff.
Great. Yeah, the best place to reach me and to learn more is my website, debperetz.com, DEBPERETZ.com. It's the T before the Z that trips people up. And you asked about the moon phases and how the moon can help us. I have a webinar that I'm offering next month about coaching with the moon, how to use the moon phases to help you navigate your karmic journey, keep it top of mind, and use it for productivity and accountability. And my podcast, Planets and Profit, Business Astrology for Entrepreneurs, is a great way for people who aren't so familiar with astrology to just kind of see how can it illuminate business.
Awesome. So with that being said, the webinars, I've seen that you have a bunch of those already scheduled out. Is that something that you do every full moon?
Well, I'm doing it as part of a launch of my new membership community, where we're actually for people who want to join, we will use the moon phases together to do this accountability and productivity with our karmic journey. But the webinar is designed to give the system, share the system, so that people who want to do it on their own can go and run with it. So I will be offering it, Rick. I'm going to be doing this throughout the year. So I just finished April. I did 4 of them. I have 4 scheduled for May. The community begins on May 26th, the day of the lunar eclipse. I thought that was appropriate, but I will continue to offer it throughout the year as I onboard people into the monthly membership community.
Awesome. So much fun. Well, Deb, thank you so much for coming on. Really enjoyed this talk. We'll have to do it again. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It was a great time.
All right, my friend. Many blessings. All right. Bye-bye. Deb Peretz, ladies and gentlemen. Peretz. Make sure you put that T in there. Check her out. Check out her work. All that good stuff. Phone lines are still open. Anybody has any questions or comments for me? Anybody wants to ask anything or give me your stories, whether it's astrology related or not, make sure you call in and we'll do that. I got something and someone that I want to talk about, and that is Kirby Delanero, a fellow by the name of Kirby Delanero. So I've had him on my podcast, an amazing talk, has a beautiful revelation of grace and how the grace and the cross of Christ and the gospel, it literally transmutes our conscious to where we feel like we're ashamed or we're not worthy and things like that. And so just going from really Genesis to Revelation, showing how we carry guilt, shame, and condemnation, and how the gospel and the story of Christ undoes that and allows us to approach the throne of grace boldly, and how we're right in standing with God, how everyone already is, you just don't know it. And so he has a beautiful revelation on that. I had him on my show. over a year ago. But I was invited, someone bought me a ticket to the 5-day program that he just did here in Destin, Florida. And so I went there and I did 3 days. I got so much stuff that we got to get ready for here with my, we have a retreat this weekend and to do the podcast and all that good stuff. So I had to get back. So I did 3 days of the fasting and being a part of his services. His revelation, what this brother's bringing to the table it's phenomenal. It's otherworldly. It not only for me, but for so many people, what this brother's bringing to the table. Everything that is in my book, you guys know I wrote a book. He covered almost every topic, like so much stuff that I genuinely resonate with when it comes to channeling, when it comes to getting free, or even spirits and demon spirits, and or communicating with the ancestors that are here, and energy, and how God is in everything. And this brother broke it down in a beautiful way and made it very inclusive, and using scriptures with it. So everything that I've been thinking, conversations that I've been having, he was speaking from the pulpit as he was sharing in this program for the 5-day. And man, it was so good. I resonated with his work on every level. And so I want to give a shout out to him and what he's doing, and all the brothers and sisters who are still there right now with the last 2 days of the program. Phenomenal, life-changing. So I definitely want to plug his work. He has so much that he's going on and that has going on, and teaching and training and equipping people, and teaching beautiful meditations, and not just the spirituality, but Kirby is really big on the neuroscience behind it and the neurochemistry, how it relates to our bodies, and explaining energy healing with the body, explaining how to transmute your fears with the mind, and some beautiful things that he's developed. So I want to give a shout out to him and his community. 3 days were just amazing. The fasting, I felt amazing. 3 days of fasting. We did a juice fast, and we drank like juice once a day. And then we did a dry fast where we wouldn't have any water for like 12 to 14 hours. And man, the clarity, was amazing. Feeling in your body, passing all the toxins, and man, I want to keep it up. I don't want to let that go. I'm not even hungry. Like the hunger came from an idea that I just want to eat, and I love food, connection with food, and camaraderie with food, and all that kind of stuff. But as far as being hungry, that passed like in the first day, like just the brain telling you that you need to eat and you want to eat. And so I want to maintain that. That was so beautiful and healthy that I just feel high off of it. So good. But another experience that I had there that I want to speak about is something that ever since I became a believer, I got born again, and this was in 1998. I heard stories in the charismatic movement. Even the guy who led me to Christ, they would have these stories about what they call gold dust, and so they would just be in prayer, and people would start manifesting gold dust. Gold would just appear on their hands, on their faces, would be shining with this radiance of gold dust. And so you hear stories about that, and how the presence of God would show up, and gold stuff would start appearing on random people in services and in prayer meetings. I remember seeing videos around that time as well, 1998, where people would be in worship and they'd be singing praise in these little bitty churches, and they're just really caught up in worship and singing, and this lady was just touching her hair, this older lady, and then gold was just coming out, and they held the Bible out, and the Bible was like filled with this gold dust that had come out of this lady's hair, and it was still coming. But over the years, I've never experienced it. And this was, like I said, I heard about this in 1998, and I never experienced it. And I've always wanted to, so much so that I would have dreams of it. And the dreams were pretty supernatural as well. I would always wake up. I would be in prayer in a dream, and I would have gold all over me and gold on my hands, and it feels so surreal. But then you'd wake up and you look at your hands because the dream seems so real, but there was no gold there. And it was something like, wow, I want to experience this. And I remember 2 dreams specifically that I woke up from with this expectation. And it got kind of weird over the years because it became, people start chasing these signs and wonders and wanting to see them and things like that. So I remember just being at meetings and stuff like that where people had heard stories or had experiences, and then we're just looking for it on people. And it was almost like you want it to happen. And I remember like people looking at the carpet and say, oh, there's a piece of gold. There's gold dust. And it was like one little glitter or something that was there. And some people, that's all it took. Oh, wow, gold dust is here. We see one little piece. And it's like, oh, okay, that's what it is. And then you look at somebody and maybe have like one little piece of gold on their hand. And that could have been from like, you know, a moisturizer and like lotion that has glitter in it and stuff like that. So there's all of this different stuff that people want to believe so bad that we kind of trick ourselves into believing. And then over the years, you also hear about the gold dust. People take the gold and they get it and they put it in a vial or a jar, and they take it to have it measured and weighed, and it's literal real gold. Like they're able to cash it in. People are able to pay off debts. There's also stories of gems and rupees and things that are forming out of hands or falling out of the sky and landing in people's hands or hitting them on the foot. These little gems and rupees that are like perfectly cut. And so you hear these stories and there's videos and all of this stuff. I've never been in those services. I've seen so much stuff in the supernatural, but I've never seen that. So there's a bit of skepticism there. Why? Because there's people who try to fabricate that stuff and to trick you. They'll literally bring, you know, lotion or a gold glitter or real gold, and they'll bring it to meetings, and you know, all it takes is one sign or wonder caught on tape where everybody believes, and they give, and you know, they're giving donations and they're sewing into that because they want to be a part of it, but those people made it up. So there's always like this healthy skepticism that I had, which I believe has helped me to see some really cool things, to be a skeptic, that I don't want to just believe because I see one flake, or I don't want to believe because I see a satellite in the sky. Like, hold on, I want that satellite to stop. I want it to change directions. I want it to blink at me. I want it to go into a star, right? So even with the angels in the night sky. So that skepticism has helped me see some really amazing things. So with the gold dust, there is the healthy skepticism that I had as well. So at the Kirby Delano meeting, they're moving in this realm of miracles, and he's calling out miracles, and they're seeing tons of stuff in people's bank accounts and people's, you know, pain leaving people's bodies as he speaks it. Boom, it's there. Check it. It's there. Go ahead and look. You have to look and see. And so many really beautiful, creative miracles. And the energy was really high in that meeting, and rightfully so. And I was sitting there chilling. My buddy Nico, shout out to Nico Morales, me and him hooked up during the retreat, and man, he's a beautiful brother, and we were together the whole time, and he was next to me. He's like, you got anything going on, man? You got any gold dust on your hand? And I said, no, I ain't got nothing going on, man. And I was like, I don't know if I really believe in it. Like, I've prayed for it. We had guys on here that kind of specialize in it, and he's like, look, do you see it? And I'm like, no, I don't see it. Don't see it. So Nico's like, well, let me pray for you, bro. Let me speak. And he don't really pray for you. He just commands it. Nico don't really pray. He'll command it. Boom, there it is right now. Boom, there it is. He'll connect in that place of 0 point and bring it out. So he wanted to do it for me. And even on that kind of skeptic, I'm like, sure, I'm open. I want to see it. Don't know if I believe you, but sure. Because again, there's people, charlatans, man. There's people who are getting caught doing this stuff. And even Kirby, when he stepped into this, the person who taught him ended up being a charlatan. He found out, but Kirby was having this stuff come out of nowhere because he believed it. He aligned his faith in 0 point to bring it into this now moment. And so he's seeing so many things, like wild stuff, especially financial stuff, you know, in bank accounts. But Nico spoke it over me. He said, now, boom, there it is. There it is. Do you see it? I see it. And I was like, no. He said, yep, there it is. Look at your finger. There it is on the tip of your finger. And I'm looking, and okay, I see it. See the one little glitter. And then he said, it's going to begin to spread. And so I'm looking at it, and then literally, boom, boom, all over my hands. And I'm open, healthy skepticism. I want it though. And it's just all over my hands. Literally, my hands were covered, the palms of both hands, with this gold glitter all over my hands. Were shining, sparkling. To me, I would say it looked like Edward from Twilight, when he gets in the sun and he begins to glisten. Like, all over my hands were glistening with this gold glitter. Nobody touched me. Nobody put nothing on me. And it just began to formulate out of nowhere. And the presence of God and the glory was really strong in that place. I was like, wow. I was blown away because Like I thought I knew. I was a healthy skeptic, you know, and I didn't know if it was real or not. And finally I was getting it all over my hands, covered with the gold dust and glory, and it was beautiful. So much so that Nico walked me up to the front and showed Kirby, and everybody got to see it. We tried to catch it on camera. It's hard to pick it up on camera. And Nico had a video all the way up to right when he put the camera on my hands. His video turned off or whatever. But I knew. I don't care if any of you guys know. I don't care if any of you guys believe me. I had the encounter. I had the experience, and then later on, it wore off. It went away. So for me, that's a good thing, because for it not to be there, and then go away was the fact that something was there. And I'm a believer, man. Like it's so beautiful to be able to experience that, and man, beautiful stuff. If anybody of you, I'm reading comments now, and people are saying they've had that happen at different places. And you know, Nico talks about he had it happen to him, and then it starts raining from his ceiling, like this gold dust coming out of his ceiling and things like that. And so beautiful encounters there at the retreat with Kirby Delanero. So if you're not plugged in with his work, you don't know who he is, look it up. Kirby D.E. Lanaro, Lanaroll. It'll come up. He's into breatharianism. He's into breath work. He's super Christian mystic, but man, beautiful dude. That everything he said I resonated with, and it was good to hear someone like articulate things that you've been studying and experiencing for years, even from a pulpit, from a place of authority, versus like other seekers and stuff. For somebody who has like developed things that are teaching the stuff that we've been believing in, revelations that we've been coming into. So definitely check out Kirby Delanero and Wildlife. And so that was amazing. We got a couple calls here. We started speaking on this. People want to come on. We have a call from the 954 from Coral Springs. Make sure that you're listening on your phone and not on YouTube. Make sure you block the YouTube. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in the caller from Coral Springs 954. Hey, who we speaking with?
Hi.
How's it
Hello?
going?
Oh, how's it going, man?
All right, who we speaking with?
Is this the TruthSeekah?
Yep, TruthSeekah podcast. What's up, man? All right, let me see here. I'm gonna eventually what we're gonna do is we're gonna get these people. We're going to copy these phone numbers down, and we're gonna place them on the want ads and get people to spam their numbers when they call in. Eventually, when people call in with jokes and stuff like that, we're gonna take their numbers and put them on Craigslist and get people to spam their numbers. So that's what we're gonna do. Like, so all right, the next one here from the 503, Randy. Are you there? Who we speaking with?
Yeah, what up, player? Hey, I was at Bethel 2011, 2012 in Redding, California, and they had that glory cloud. They called it the glory cloud. It's a gold dust cloud, and it showed up. And you can actually look online. You can look up Bethel glory cloud, gold dust, and you can see the videos. But I was there when it was happening. And the thing was, everybody was by the vent. They're like, oh, is it coming out of the vent? Is it coming out of the vent? You know, but the air was moving it around, you know, and sometimes the gold dust was like floating upwards. But here's the weird thing. I was going up there with my buddy, and he was like a second year kind of cool guy, you know, he was in the thing. And I was going up, and there's a crowd of people. And then out of this crowd, there's like a circular space, like of nobody standing there. I'm like, oh, that's weird. It's packed, and there's an empty space here. And then all of a sudden, dude, I promise you, dude, a gold dust spiral came out of the ground and just manifested and went and just came out of the ground right in front of me. I'm like, whoa, dude,
Wow.
What is going on, dude? Like, that was nuts, man. So, and I've seen it manifest on this lady too. She was talking. She was just talking. It's all this gold dust. It's boom. So, yeah, man, it's real. It's happening. It's real.
Yeah, I got the video pulled up now. I'm gonna check it out.
Signs that make you wonder.
All right, cool.
I've never seen it. Wow, it's big flakes too, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, I was there, man. It was wild. Everybody was like feeling it. And
That's
that
a
was
lot
when,
too. Like that's a lot. Whatever.
Yeah, that was right before they exiled Westerfield.
Yeah.
Jason Westerfield. Like, dude, I don't know what's going on with that, but I'm still like, dude, I don't know what's going. I don't think he is bad. Dude. I think he might be onto something. You know, like
Yeah.
the star child of Bethel. I mean, you know what I mean? And then they just like one day it's like, no, it's too much. Like,
Yeah,
okay.
I think if he would have held on to the Christocentric stuff, which is what Kirby's doing, like he would have been good, you know.
Yeah. I don't know.
Are you familiar with Kirby?
I don't know. No.
Oh, wow.
No, I'm not actually. No. Yeah, I kind of got into I had like this weird dream. I was on the moon in like a base, you know, like a spiritual school, and then like doing some intuitive empath training on the moon base. So I was like writing music and stuff, and then I actually was looking for Westerfield, and then I found Third Eye Indigo on your channel like last year, something like that. So I just watch all the time. Yeah, I hang out. I don't hang out. I talk to Third Eye still on the messenger and stuff. This is like down to earth, dude. He's really like Third Eye Indigo, dude. If you ever get him back on your show, dude, he's like I don't know what he is, dude. He's younger, but he's like, dude, he'll just drop all this infinite knowledge for like an hour or two, and you're like, dude, what? Like,
yeah.
Like what? Like, yeah. Third Eye Indigo, dude. I respect that guy, dude. He just put out some new music too, so.
For sure. Yeah, he we did that talk on Westerfield, and I got it on.
No.
It's so funny that like I got a lot of people actually find my my podcast because they're googling Jason Westerfield because it comes up on Google, and so that was cool. Yeah, he got on there and shared his story. I guess he was friends with Westerfield.
No, I guess he's like best friends with him. He grew up with him or something like that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that, and I think Westerfield might be doing like talks later on, but it's kind of like low key. But I heard he's like next level on some like stuff, dude. Like
yeah, I've just heard crazy stories about him. Like I've heard like some people, and the weird thing is like once you start hearing stories, they kind of like snowball and get added to them and stuff. Like I heard he was sitting on his ceiling one day, dude. They walked in the room and he was like upside down.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, my buddy is second year, and I lived with like the second year, and they were like interns with these like high up people in Bethel, and my buddy said, yeah, I was with my friend, and we went to go see Westerfield at this hotel, and we went there, and he said he wasn't there, but his buddy was there, you know, like his best friend was like second year guy, and he's like, yeah, we went to the hotel, and he was sitting on the ceiling when we went in the door, and then he took my hand, he morphed into a different person, and we're like in another dimension, and like we're like in this other world, dude. Like that's what he's saying, and he's like he changed his whole body and like changed it to a different person or something, and it's like that's some weird stuff, man. Like that's why I'm like I don't know, man. I'm trying to figure it out because, like I said, dude, we've all had some weird experiences, you know. We're still trying to put it together in a way, even though it still happens. Like,
yeah, well, just to know it's possible, that, you know what I'm saying, and that's what miracles show you. And you know, and even Kirby, when he talks about this, like a lot of stuff isn't miracles, because a miracle is something that's like a divine intervention of angels and stuff like that happen. But a lot of the stuff we already have the ability to do, like fire bending and calling water out of a rock like Moses did. Like there are signs and wonders that we already have the ability to do. We just forgot about, or we given it over to other religions and called it demonic or whatever.
You're right. Yeah. Another weird thing is like sometimes I have these like weird visions about like spinning metal, or like having to not bend, but like spin or move metal, and like I just have these weird visions about that. And like sometimes I'm just thinking I have some trauma and like I'm processing. I'm like, what am I processing about? And then I see this like object, and I'm like, just fucking spin the object, dude, and then you'll start from the testing. Spin the object, and the trauma will go away. And I don't know if it's like some weird like back programming or something, being like, you know, some training or something, but I don't know, dude.
Is that something that you're developing, or you're seeing in the spirit, or somebody else came out with?
Yeah, actually, you know what? Yeah, you know what? The crazy thing is I think a lot and I philosophize or whatever, but here's what it goes down to. So it's like, okay, your inner man, you know, your inner man or your imagination, like magic, and I magi, like the magi, once you go see Jesus, magician, I magic nation, my imagination is my inner man, And so if I can take control over my inner man and the world within, maybe I can manifest that world within in this dimension instead of having my inner man be distracted by, I had to quit gaming because I'm like, dude, I'm thinking about that last round. Like, I shouldn't be thinking about that last round. I need to be astral projecting, man. Like,
I'm with you, dude. I'm with you, dude.
Out of the fun, bro.
I'm with you, dude. I love
I'm
gaming.
tied up thinking about lovely things. What's that?
I said I'm with you on that because I love gaming too, and I'm like in the same same place. You know what? And the interesting, listen to Kirby. Kirby said he plays video games a little bit, but it's something to do with the dopamine. Is that with our phones and getting that instant dopamine release through a video game or through the lady was talking about food, like in my connection with food, it's dopamine. It's that, oh, this is so good, and it's instant dopamine, and so we're getting these instant artificial drops of dopamine releases that are through these external things like video games. And so your brain gets trained that, okay, when I win a game of Madden or when I win a round of Warzone or whatever the case is, like that I'm going to get this dopamine, this release. And so the things of the spirit or the things that we get dopamine release spiritually or naturally, it gets overshadowed by the food. So there's less and less of a fruit smoothie that gives you dopamine because you're connected with that big, unhealthy burger that, is designed to give you that instant pleasure. And the key and the goal with all this is called delayed gratification. To actually put in the work to get those dopamine releases through friendships and through camaraderie and through relationship versus like getting the instant release or instant release through ecstasy or pornography and things like that. Those are things that we are supposed to kind of work our way up to. And so when we start getting addicted to all of these outside sources that are stimulating our dopamine, the beautiful subtle things such as the mystics gazing into the rain or sun gazing or grounding and stuff that's supposed to really release our dopamine, it does it less and less. So you're right about the video game thing for sure.
Wow, that's deep, bro. I'm just like back in listener mode right now, dude. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So going speaking about magic, like I that really became a revelation of reading a little pamphlet by Manly P. Hall called Magic, and he talked about white, black, and gray magic. And so he's talking about magic, and at the end of the book he goes in deep on this delayed gratification and how how important it is. And from when I read it, it was like revelation, man. So, and it was from a book, Magic, Magi, imagination, the brain, neurochemistry.
I'm an anti-porn guy, so like I agree with that. I tell everybody, don't watch porn. Like we've all been there. Once you get past it, you're like, what the fuck what am I doing? I'm ruining my life, dude. Like I'm just like, why am I cucking myself? Like it's just you're just cucking. You're like watching someone else get the girls you want to be with, and it's not going to make you happy in life. Wow. You know what I mean? And you're not actually getting that.
It transmutes into your life. You watch other people get the job that you want.
Yeah. Oh, wow, dude, that's magic right there, dude. I didn't think about that.
I know, right? It's deep.
Wow. Yeah, because you're giving your power away. You don't want to give your power away. And that's what God talked about. Don't give your strength away to like a hoe,
Yep.
Don't give it up to her.
Mm-hmm. You're powerful more than you know. Yep. Everything is meaningful. God is in everything, So I'll tell you what was interesting. So me and Nico, so when it comes to angels and stuff like that, there's where we get angel sigils and angel magic, and you can call upon your angels and learning your angels and stuff like that, and they're associated with colors, sounds, lights, even crystals. And so we go to Earthbound, me and Nico, on the way out. I had to stop and get a gift from my daughter, and we walk in and we're looking at crystals because he wanted to visit a crystal shop, and I was like, there's a couple crystals in there. So we walk up and we look at this jasper. I forgot the name of it. I got to figure out which kind of jasper it is, but it's a jasper stone. But we looked at it and there's these glitter all over it, right? And so it was like, hey, that looks like the glitter that we seen on our hands, like the gold does, because it looks exactly like this. So I picked it up and put it in my hand and just held it in my hand, and then took it off. And literally, I'll try to do it now. I don't know, for those of you who are watching on the podcast, let's see if any of it picks up on camera. Okay, yeah. So I'm rubbing this on my hand. Okay, you can see a little bit on camera. And because the light has to reflect off of it, right? It's a reflection of glory of the light that's already there. And maybe it's a light thing. Maybe this gold dust is already there, but a certain light comes in that reflects it, right? But you can see a little bit of this on my hand, and it looked exactly like it, but it was covered. So the same kind of glitter. And so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna buy this stone just to remind me of the encounter that I had, right? Because it's got this glitter, so I'm gonna hold on to it, and it's like a monument. It's a stone of remembrance. I mean, that's scriptural. They had stones of remembrance. So when I look it up too, so I looked up this jasper a little while ago, and it was saying that, let's see, jasper represents the glory of God, and when it comes to the Bible and stones. And so I thought that was interesting. And so how it says jasper represents the glory of God, and this specific glory has this gold dust on it, and it was very similar to what we experienced the day before, man. That was neat.
Wow.
So we get into the deeper research. Let's see if we can recreate it. Let's see if we can connect with the angel that is associated with the jasper, you know, and see if we can recreate it and develop a relationship, you know, where these things aren't so miraculous or so spread out, that we can, you know, encounter these things every day, you know.
Yeah, I was listening to this podcast, this other one, and they're talking about you've probably heard of it, but they're talking about the crystals, and one of the guys was like, yeah, you know, crystals are like tools, like of a carpenter, or, you know, or a plumber or whatever. But if you're not a good plumber and you have all these tools, you're not going to be able to use it, you know. So you have to have like a good, skilled, like, you know, worker or whatever. Like that made a lot of sense. Like, yeah, you know, if you get like someone that knows what they're doing, you can probably pull some energy from it. Because I'm like, we make phones from rocks and crystals and plastic. Like, I don't, like, you know what I mean? It's kind of like everything that we make comes from this planet. So if we can like maybe redo some alignments or something, or I don't know, I'm still trying to figure it out. But
yeah, you just gotta, I mean, it takes searching and it takes study, like you said, like that stuff that you're getting in the spirit, write that stuff down, dude, because that becomes I would say doctrine, but it becomes a formula where other people can encounter getting that revelation, and you can bring them with you, the stuff that you're learning. And so I feel like a lot of us have these ideas and things that we're getting in the spirit or the imagination. It's the same word. Just to believe is to use your imagination. And so I thought it was pretty
imagination,
pretty interesting that Kirby did a perfect job of doing this. Kirby's got all these meditations and like the death of the ego, and doing meditations where you actually let your worst fear come upon you and you die in your imagination, you die in your dream, and then you look at your body dead to really overcome your fear of death. You let that thing overtake you. Like so many beautiful things that come out of prayer, meditation, and just using the imagination, that everything comes out of your imagination. Write it down so you can share it and other people can experience it, you know?
Yeah. Sometimes when I'm in my imagination, like, and I feel like I'm in a battle or something weird, I'll just like turn into like light and just like shine really bright. It's like, whoa. And then I did that once. It was so weird. I have a vision of it. It's coming back to me. Wow. Yeah. Wow. I was in another world, man. I felt like this, like
that memory brought you back, bro. That's what I'm talking about. And then, but see how that memory brought you back. You can map it out because you've been there. You can take people with you. It's a moment in time that was captured for you.
I felt like, wow. Yeah, that was interesting. Yeah, I just had this weird, quick vision of like this lizard, like reptile, goofy looking thing trying to feed off of me, like something you see off of, like, kind of looked like that one from that Star Wars Disney Plus show, you know, the Mandalorian. It looked like that lizard from the second season. It was like trying to get at me or something. And I just like turned into light, and I just started shining so bright. And then when I did that, I noticed the animal was blind. It couldn't see, and it was just walking around me. And I'm like, dude, I'm like a god mode right now. I feel like I'm like a god in a way, and this little insect's trying to get at me, you know, through my thoughts.
Yeah.
And I just like had so much light, you know, just shining. And it looked like it had like a glaze over its eyes, like I couldn't see. And it was like, I don't know. And then I was like, should I kill it? But I'm like, I don't know. I'm not really like, you know, like I didn't feel like, you know, I should just
Yeah.
cut off my head. You know, I feel like I have mercy. You know, like mercy,
Yep.
grace,
For sure.
love, kindness, patience, peace, understanding. You know.
Yep. Yeah, it's just serving its purpose. All things serve a purpose. I mean, it's just like if you go outside at night with a flashlight, and you're gonna attract insects. You're gonna attract those mosquitoes that want to suck your blood. In the same sense, you have entities that want to suck your auric field. They want to leech off of your energy, and so I mean, they're just doing what they're created to do, and so it's up to you to guard yourself and to make sure that you're covered and you know who you are. You're able to tell when something steps into your auric field that's not supposed to be there, that's trying to drain you. And that works with people too, people who are just trying to drain you and use you. And so as you start sharpen those senses, you can be able to discern what it feels like when something foreign is in your auric field or close to you, and whether it's something beautiful or something that's negative.
Yeah, not good for bad things to get in my auric field. I've learned, because they just get triggered really fast.
For sure. What was your name, man? Randy?
Like yeah, it's actually, that's my dad's name. It's Isaiah Love.
Okay, Isaiah Love. Great.
So if you ever see me on the chat, yeah, I do things around Salem. Like I was starting to do Salem TV because I was working with the city magazine, and I was going to do like some, you know, look out some music, but then COVID happened, so kind of slaying low. And I don't know, I make music too, but I just need to get. I was working on my vocals for a while, and I had to learn how to mix and master. But then something that helped me out, I was like, oh, I'll do like 3 layers of vocals on a track, like one main vocal, one that's like higher, one that's lower, but then I turn them down like, you know, way quieter, so it kind of fills up the track. And I'm like, that makes it sound better. So another thing I learned is like sometimes my bass is too high. I'm like, God, dude, so I'm using trash headphones, so I have to like redo my bass, but you know, everything sounds good, but then sometimes I'm like, I just want to make it sound good on all the, you know, every platform.
I have that. I've had and have that problem myself. Yeah.
So I'm like, dude, because I have that mixing. I got some like cool stuff because I worked at Guitar Center, and it's like that Nectar, you know, like one of those.
Oh, you got one of those?
Really good. Yeah, but it's from like a few years ago. So like, cause dude, I worked at Guitar Center, and they'd be like, hey, if you do this module, you'll get this $200 DST for free. I'm like, hell yeah, dude, I just did them all. And then I contacted Ableton, and I called them and I said, hey man, you give any deals for Guitar Center people? And they're like, yeah man, we'll hook you up with Ableton Live 9 Suite and Push for $1,000. And it was like $1,600 just for that. So I saved a lot of money. But
there's so many tricks, man. We've had I haven't done it lately because I've had some problems with getting my audio to go through, but in the past I've done a lot of mixing sessions and recording sessions that I've kind of live streamed to show some of the different techniques with mixing and singing, and a lot of it is about layering the vocals and certain ways that you can pan it, and so many takes that you can do that I've learned from some pretty big names in the industry who I've worked with, and they want their vocals mixed a certain way. And when I started mixing my vocals like they mix theirs, it like, you know, it took it to a whole nother level.
Nice.
Yeah, I love it, bro. Hey man, well, it was good speaking with you, man. Feel free to call in anytime and share stories or input and all that good stuff, man. That's why the phone lines are open, brother. Thanks for calling in. It was good to speak with you.
Cool.
Likewise,
all right, I'll keep listening.
All right, man. Peace. Many blessings.
Thanks.
Later. That's what it is, ladies and gentlemen. Man, see, other people are having these experiences. Other people are, you know, just like you, other versions of yourself. Nobody knows unless we talk about it. You know, nobody knows unless you share what you've been experiencing, what you've seen, what you're going through. If you keep it to yourself because of what we talked about, fear that I'm not going to speak my truth, fear that people will judge me, fear that I may be wrong, fear that I may be deceived, fear that there's demons, right? That's going to hinder you. Fear is going to cripple you. So again, transmute that fear into excitement. What is the excitement of fear? A fear if I don't share my story. A fear if I don't share my story that people are depressed and maybe I'm the only one who's experienced this. There's a lot of that going on that, you know, you got to step out. But you find out that other people resonate with what you're doing because you're authentic. You're not holding anything back. You're not pretending to be someone you're not. Now that's not forcing that on people to hear your story and, you know, going to work and telling people about aliens and all that kind of stuff. Listen, you got to be able to discern and feel where people are as well. But when if you start a platform or use your own social media, whatever, listen, feel free and feel open to share that. And so that's what this platform is designed for. This is what we do. And so many people at the program that I went to just came up to me and thanked me for doing what I do. You know, thank me for, and I've caught a lot of persecution over this from Christians and from so many questions, and then even interviewing some people and just asking myself, what the hell am I doing here? You know, that kind of stuff. And then, but people coming to me like, man, thank you so much for just having those conversations and being open and embracing your faith and still being able to peer into a lot of these conversations because there's nobody talking about this stuff. So I've been doing this for years now. So now it's empowering and emboldening other people to start their own podcast, to embrace their message and let their freak flag fly, as you would. And so it's been beautiful, and had so many people come up to me, man, and it's so beautiful. I get those messages every day, but it's so cool to be able to meet people in the flesh who come up to me and speak to me and tell me how much the show has had an impact on their life, and it really means the world. So, man, embody your truth, whatever that is. Say yes, keep doing it, and listen. Like, there is no limit. I say the sky is the limit. There's no limits. The only limit is your mind. The only limit is your imagination, what you can believe for. And as you step out little by little and you start seeing little things, whether it be gold dust or whether it be whatever it is that you need, what that does is it expands your faith. And expands your faith as your realm of belief, what you're able to believe for, what you're able to expect and have this expectancy. Because once it starts out as faith and you've never experienced it, it's something new. But once you've seen it, it becomes normal. It takes no more faith. It even takes no more belief. Belief and faith are just even out the picture. Because now you know. Nobody can take that from you. Nobody can convince you otherwise. Because you have a divine inner knowing of something that you've experienced. Now be open to be challenged. Be open to question. I'm open for all of it. I'm open to believe, well, maybe somebody poured gold dust in your hands when you weren't looking. Listen, I'm open to all of that. I have a healthy skepticism that has allowed me to experience so many portals in realms of the unfathomable where we are connected to higher realms and other dimensions with other beings that have our best interest in mind, and also those that don't. Everything exists. Everything that you can imagine, everything that you can fathom exists. And if it didn't exist before you thought it, you create it as you believe it. And then how do you transmute it? How do you, as a shaman, pull it into your reality? Every version of yourself exists. Versions of yourself that are happy, wealthy, traveling the world, in your dream job. There's also a version of you that exists that you don't know who you are. You're scared. You know, you're poor. You're begging. You're homeless. Like, all those versions exist, and you have to choose which one that you want to bring into your reality. And there's things that you do to do that. It's just simple as saying yes, continuing to say yes to the choices in the life that you want to create for yourself. The world is magical. Life is beautiful. With that, I'm going to say peace and shalom, man. Thank you guys for hanging out. For those of you who are interested, I think we have 3 slots left open for our retreat coming up this weekend here in Mobile, Alabama. By the time you hear this on the audio apps, well, you know what? This will be out tomorrow. I'll put this out tomorrow. So yeah, it's last minute. We got 3 slots left. Retreat in Mobile, Alabama. So go to TruthSeekah.com to get info on those tickets if you want to be a part of that. But we're going to do more, and excited about the future. With that, I'm going to say peace and shalom, man. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. Peace, peace.
Your will so much higher than mine, so much higher than mine. Your so much deeper than mine, so much deeper than mine.
episode, folks. To hear more episodes of the TruthSeekah podcast, head over to TruthSeekah.com. And if you're wanting to support the show and get rewards, go to our Patreon page at patreon.com/TruthSeekah.